A young woman named Alena is an aspiring model who dreams of conquering the capital. After another photo shoot, she and her friend Lika receive an offer from Ignat, who invites them to a private party on a ship, where many wealthy men will be present. Lika agrees, seeing it as an opportunity to earn more money and make useful connections, but Alena refuses because she has a boyfriend. Not for long, however, returning home earlier than expected, she catches Ivan with his mistress and of course immediately breaks up with him. From the elevator, Alena calls Ignat and asks whether his offer is still valid. Then the young woman gets into a taxi and leaves. Lika meets her and hands her the money from Ignat, who acts as an intermediary. Alena would rather not be here. She keeps catching the hungry gazes of men. If it were not for her boyfriend's betrayal, she would never have gone to the party at all. It is perfectly obvious what these men want. Perhaps not all of them though. Egor strikes up a conversation with Alena and makes a pleasant impression. He is a successful businessman and of course married. They slip away to the deck and chat pleasantly. Things however do not go according to plan for Lika, and she suggests that Alena leave right now. When Alena decides to stay, Lika insults her and walks away. Suddenly Egor suggests that Alena go for a swim, not in the cold Moscow River, but in France. They could fly there in the morning on his private jet. Without much hesitation the young woman agrees. She greets the new day with champagne aboard Egor's private plane, anticipating the warm sea and sunbathing. However, her mood darkens when she disembarks not on the sunny coast of France, but in Yakutsk. It turns out that Egor has urgent business here, something he completely forgot about. He is met by his personal secretary, Semyon. Alena, demonstrating her displeasure with her entire appearance, is forced to get into the car with them. Egor promises to compensate her for all the inconvenience. Money is not a problem for him, but Alena demands that he buy her a ticket on the very next flight to Moscow. The problem is that the nearest flight is only tomorrow, so Alena will have to wait anyway. Before a meeting with his business partners from Yakutsk, Egor, suffering from a hangover, puts his wedding ring back on his finger. Egor's wife is also present at the meeting, and she is the one who ruins his deal. Igulan is furious with her husband for flying to Moscow and ignoring her calls. Nevertheless, Egor prefers to spend time with Alena. While there is still time before the flight, he takes her to a recreation base. It is of course nothing like France, and Alena does not hide her dissatisfaction. She thinks only about how to get through until tomorrow and forget her acquaintance with Egor as a bad dream. The man is still determined to make amends and offers her a sightseeing boat tour. Her followers have definitely never seen anything like this. It seems she will have to agree, she needs to fill the time somehow. Gradually Alena even begins to thaw and is no longer so angry with Egor. He takes her to a very beautiful place, unpopular among tourists because of its remoteness. Egor says that sometimes a whole week passes here without meeting a single person. To impress his young companion, Egor decides to jump into the river from a high cliff, no matter how much she tries to talk him out of it. The man jumps anyway. When he does not resurface for a long time, Alena first thinks it is his stupid joke, but soon it becomes clear that it is not a joke. Alena cannot even call for help because there is no signal. The young woman cries helplessly. There is no one around for dozens of miles. Pulling herself together, Alena tries to figure out how to operate the boat, but it turns out to be not so simple. When the young woman finally manages to start the engine, the boat begins moving uncontrollably in circles, and she cannot stop it. In the chaos, Alena accidentally drops the keys into the water. The young woman has no idea how to get out of this situation. Suddenly she realizes that the boat is drifting with the current straight toward a waterfall, which means Alena will have to jump. The problem is that she cannot swim. The young woman throws a life ring into the water, but the current quickly carries it away. Alena runs into the cabin and screams as the boat plunges over the waterfall. Alena regains consciousness on the shore. In a fit of stress, she drinks a bottle of champagne, which she managed to grab along with some other belongings, including her makeup bag. Alena puts on lipstick, trying to understand her location in relation to Yakutsk and in general which direction to go. Then the young woman sets off along the riverbank, but she has not gone far before she encounters a bear. Alena tries not to make any sudden movements so as not to provoke the wild animal. But as soon as she turns her back, the bear prepares to attack. Alena runs as fast as she can, then takes off her shoes and throws them at the bear. It works, the animal is distracted, allowing her to get away. Night falls. She tries to start a fire by rubbing one stick against another, as they usually do in the movies, but it does not work. In desperation Alena tries to warm herself, but spotting an Arctic fox, she bolts again. Suddenly she stumbles and falls. The fox however turns out to be completely harmless. That is how Alena spends the night in the forest. When she wakes up, she sees the fox beside her and names him Ignat, after her acquaintance, because of whom she went to that fateful party in the first place. The young woman once again desperately tries to catch a signal, but it is futile. She is terribly hungry and would give anything for a hearty breakfast right now. When the hunger becomes unbearable, Alena eats her foundation cream. It tastes of course utterly disgusting. Meanwhile Igulan does not understand why her husband did not meet her from the private plane. She tries to call him, but there is no answer. Alena wanders through the forest, asking herself why this happened to her of all people. She is not a bad person. The young woman walks in the first direction she sees, when suddenly she stumbles upon an anthill and shrieks. All this time the fox has been following her. Agor is not at home either, only their children and the housekeeper are there, so Igulan grows even angrier. The fox follows Alena closely, just like a pet dog. In any case the company is welcome right now. Seeing mushrooms, Alena decides to take the risk and eat them. After some time she begins to hallucinate. The visions turn into a frightening psychedelic experience. She speaks with Ignat in the form of a man wearing an Arctic fox costume, who tells her that if she had enrolled in university and focused on her studies, she would not have ended up in this situation. Now Alena will have to manage on her own. The fox also asks her to change his name. Igulan searches for her husband at the office, but he is not there either. She pressures the secretary into admitting that Agor left with some young woman. Igulan quickly pieces it together. Alena finally comes to her senses. Seeing a fire in the distance, the young woman thinks it is people and runs toward it, calling for help. However, it turns out to be a forest fire. Before Alena can escape, a tree falls on her, but fortunately does not crush her. The fox begins digging at the ground, showing Alena that she should do the same to get out. And it works. Feeling grateful, the young woman picks up the animal and leaves the fire zone. Now at least she will not be without fire at night. But as if the trials were not enough, a thunderstorm with rain begins. Alena, together with the animal, takes shelter in a cave. She manages to light a fire again. That is where she intends to spend the night. However, the animal behaves restlessly, as if sensing something. Alena suddenly finds herself surrounded by hordes of rats, and in terror runs. The rats swarm everywhere. Alena makes her way out of the cave and lets out a desperate scream, unable to understand why fate treats her this way. Meanwhile Igulan continues searching for Agor. Seeing a boat on the river, Alena begins calling for help at the top of her lungs, but her voice is badly hoarse. She signals as best she can. And the boat turns. Guessing where her husband might have gone with the young woman, Igulan intends to go there as well. The fishermen rescue Alena, give her warm clothes and canned food. No longer able to hold back her emotions, Alena tells them everything that has happened to her, how she ran from a bear and wandered through the forest. The fishermen ask whether she roughly remembers the location of the cliff from which Agor jumped. They intend to look for him there. Alena says that she needs a hospital. The fishermen promise to take her right after they find Agor. What if he is alive and needs help? Alena points to the cliff. There are rocks at the bottom, so Agor had no chance. Or does it only seem that way at first glance? Soon they find Agor, whom the current has carried into the bushes by the shore, injured, but alive. He is unconscious. Alena begs the fishermen to take Agor to the hospital, but they obviously have other plans. Right before Alena's eyes, they finish Agor off, just at the moment when Igulan was passing by in her boat. The fishermen also intend to get rid of Alena, the only witness. However, she is saved by Igulan, who fatally wounds one of the fishermen while the others are digging a grave for Agor. Seizing the moment, the women escape in Igulan's boat. The fishermen, realizing what is happening, give chase. They begin shooting. Alena screams in terror, while Igulan remains calm, maneuvering the boat. The women manage to break away and reach the shore, but the boat will go no farther. They face a journey through the forest. Unlike Igulan, Alena turns out to be completely unprepared. The fishermen also come ashore, wondering who this woman is. Alena is terribly exhausted and can no longer walk. Unexpectedly, Igulan in a fury attacks Alena, demanding to know where Agor is. Alena screams that there was nothing between them and that he is dead. Now the fishermen intend to get rid of both women. In hysterics, Alena tells Igulan that it is not her fault, that she did not want any of this. Agor was kind and polite, there was no ring on his finger. He approached her himself and offered her a seat on his plane. Any young woman in Alena's place would have jumped at the chance to fly to France on a private jet. And Alena tried to talk him out of jumping, so Igulan beat her for nothing. To calm Alena, Igulan embraces her. That is how the women reconcile, understanding that they will have to act together in order to survive. This is an island, there is no one around for dozens of miles, so they are trapped. Igulan proposes the only way out, to swim to another island. Alena admits that she cannot swim. Igulan does not understand how someone can be so unprepared for life. Alena remembers that she has a video of Agor's jump on her phone and shows it to Igulan. Seeing it, the woman cries. Alena is astonished when Igulan catches fish with her bare hands. The women decide to spend the night right there. They cannot light a fire, otherwise they will be noticed. Igulan asks Alena to describe the fishermen in more detail. The young woman does not know their names, but she remembers their appearance vividly. Igulan does not really believe that there was nothing between Alena and Agor. The woman despises girls like Alena, who do not leave decent married men alone. For the first time Igulan gives in to her emotions and cries, which confuses Alena. Igulan is hurt that lately Agor no longer saw a woman in her, only the mother of his children and his business partner. Why, instead of being with his wife, did he invite young women to keep him company on his trips? Alena does not know what she could possibly say to comfort Igulan. In any case, Alena regrets that she gave in to the temptation of sunny France and accepted Agor's offer. The women wait for morning, as do the fishermen, who are now one man fewer. At dawn, Alena sees the Arctic fox nearby and tells Igulan how the animal saved her life. The woman objects, saying that the beast is a scavenger and was only waiting for Alena to die so it could feed. The young woman certainly did not expect that. Igulan intends to make sure that it is not they who must flee, but the fishermen. The woman orders Alena not to ask foolish questions and to do exactly as she is told. The fishermen have already set out to hunt. Igulan lights a fire, which puzzles Alena. Igulan says that they must leave. Just as the woman intended, the smoke draws the fishermen's attention. They do not yet know that Igulan has set traps. When they realize it, it is too late. One of them is caught in a snare. Oleg, the leader among them, finishes off the wounded man while Bergam does not see. Now only two of them remain. Oleg cannot allow witnesses to leave alive. Igulan and Alena try to steal the fisherman's boat, but the men track them down. Oleg shoots and wounds Igulan. Alena is too frightened to help her. She lies helplessly in the boat drifting with the current while the fishermen prepare to get rid of Igulan. She calls upon the spirits of the forest and her ancestors, and nature around them begins to go mad, terrifying the men. Realizing that Igulan is a shaman, Bergam does not allow Oleg to take her life. At that moment Alena appears. She has finally found the courage and neutralizes Bergam. Igulan in turn takes Oleg's life. The women take Agor's body and leave the island. Igulan has already guessed who stands behind all of this. It is Agor's secretary, Semyon. Under threat, he admits that he hired the fishermen to eliminate Agor and sell the company's shares to business competitors, keeping 2% for himself, and that is a huge sum. Semyon had hoped to frame Igulan so that it would look as though a jealous wife had decided to take revenge on her unfaithful husband. Alena recorded the conversation on video. Now the women have compromising evidence against Semyon, and he will not be able to avoid prison. Igulan returns home to her children. When they ask when their father will come back, she does not know what to answer. For now, Alena is also staying at Igulan's house. They took the Arctic fox with them, by the way. Igulan plans to leave the business and take the children far away from here. But for the moment, the women simply want to distract themselves from the nightmare they survived and go out to have fun at karaoke. After some time they release the Arctic fox back into the wild, but the animal does not want to leave. Who knows, perhaps it was Igulan using her shamanic abilities, who turned her husband into an Arctic fox as punishment. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.